So, Mir, there's been a lot of talk and hype around Gil, the recently announced character for Street Fighter V, but I'm personally more excited for the new V-Skills, just because it's a new mechanic, you know? Finally coming to the game after, since V-Trigger 2's came out in Arcade Edition.
Yes, for sure. It's going to be a breath of fresh air for characters we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, man. And of course, the balance patch as well. So that's the topic of the video today, guys. We're going to be going over the second V-Skills for the characters, a preview video for each character. Now, we haven't got too many shown to us, like around 6 so far, maybe 7 if you include Ryu. But Capcom said on their Twitter that they're going to be slowly revealing most of the V-Skill 2s over the weeks coming up to Capcom Cup. So that's great. That means we have something to talk about all the way till December. And we can start going over and kind of having a little, discussion about it and what we can expect when this patch finally rolls out for Street Fighter V. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Ryu first because this is a character that's been needing a lot of help over the years. And this V-Skill could be a huge help for him. And this one is called Thrust Strike. Now, I'm gonna be honest, Mir. When I first saw this V-Skill, we didn't even see a video of it. Actually, there was just a screenshot of it and like a poorly Google translated description on the Japanese Street Fighter website that basically said it was a counter, like a dodge. And I was like, man, this is useless. Like I'm like, oh no, I was so worried, dude, because
well, especially when you have a parry as another V-Skill.
I know, right? Because I'm like, hey. I'm just thinking about all these dudes sitting down discussing what Ryu needs, right, for Season 5. And they're like, okay, he's got a parry. He's got a V-Trigger 2 parry. What does he need? He needs a dodge. And I thought it was just going to be just like Laura's V-Trigger 2, And it's funny, too, because everyone's always complaining, we need more defensive options in Street Fighter V. And Capcom's like, you want defensive options? We'll give you some. So they give you a dodge.
Technically, if you want to put it like that, this is not more defensive options. It's just an alternate defensive option to what you already have.
That's funny. But like I said, I wouldn't panic too much, guys, because I was trolling before when I was talking about it. Now we have more information. They've actually showed a video clip of it and a description, and it's definitely way better than I thought it would be. Thank goodness. So let me describe what happens here. So Ryu will take a large step forward, and he does a straight punch in front of him, and when it hits the opponent, it knocks him almost full screen. So the animation of this is actually very, very similar to Street Fighter 4, except I think it uses his opposite hand. Well, I guess it depends on what shot.
Of the focus attack.
Yeah, from Street Fighter 4. It's very, very similar, though. They obviously got inspired from that idea. Yes. So another thing about it, too, so it's just simply an attack if you use it by itself. But the big thing about it is that if the opponent attacks Ryu during what looks like the startup of this attack, then he'll actually just dodge the attack outright and do a bonus second follow-up punch, or it's an elbow specifically, and that also knocks the opponent down. So he goes punch, he goes dodge, punch, and then into elbow if he successfully counters the opponent. So an interesting thing too is that the second follow-up attack, the elbow, can be V-trigger cancelled, as we see in the video, for an additional juggle. And the example that we see is that Ryu dashes after, and then he goes into DP, into super. So, very interesting indeed. So it's not just your regular counter.
Yeah, and we have no idea if the first hit can be V-trigger cancelled as well. They don't show that.
Yeah.
And we have no info on that. We don't know if they can be special cancelled or super cancelled. Like, nothing shown except that V-trigger combo.
So, we got a lot of questions. But first we should ask, how can this be good? So the first thing is that the easiest thing to compare this to is basically it's Colleen's V-Skill 1. So and we already know that used to be it still is good. I mean, Capcom had to nerf it. So it could be very strong when you have an attack that is both a dodge, counter, and an attack at the same time, basically. Because it still has its use even if you don't successfully counter, because it is an attack. And like I said, Ryu's knocks the opponent down, right? Which would be good.
Yes.
So, the first thing that this could be good for is that it's a long-range attack. And if you compare this to the rest of Ryu's attack, this is his longest range attack, basically. because Ryu, everyone wants Ryu's crouch immune kick to keep getting buffed because it's really essential normal for him. But this will help Ryu players want to deal with characters when they're outside of his crouch immune kick range, because he takes that big step forward. So I'm thinking really bad matchups for Ryu, like Abigail, for example. I'm thinking like Birdie or Caddy, any character with a really long range, like good neutral normals that give Ryu problems outside his crouching medium kick. This is the V skill that would help him, you know?
I think it really depends on what the V skill is able to counter as well, because if you look at Colleen's V skill, for example, V skill 1, it's unable to counter fireballs, which is one of Colleen's biggest problems in general in the Colleen matchup.
Yeah.
So we can assume that Ryu's V skill could be something similar, like that it doesn't counter fireballs, or if it does counter fireballs, then it might be, for example, vulnerable to lows. Because I mean, it's definitely vulnerable to throws, but it's so fast that it's unrealistic that you're gonna throw it, you know, in the middle of the enemy.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is also important because, for example, we were saying how Karim might be, you know, it's a problematic matchup, but since crouching medium kick is such a strong tool for her, this V skill might not be as useful if it doesn't counter lows. In fact, you might get blown up by it, right?
That's true.
So, and it could be more valuable in a zoning matchup. I don't know, like for example, Guile, if it counters Fireball.
Exactly.
So it really depends on what the V skill really does. We know for a fact that it counters mids because we've seen it in the footage.
Yeah.
And it can counter supers as well.
Yes, it can counter supers.
It doesn't look like a parry in the sense that Ryu is not parrying anything. It's kind of like going through the attack. He gets vulnerability frames.
Right, it looks exactly like Colleen's V-Skill, how it interacts after you successfully use it. It's this weird, like... It's not like absorbing an attack like Akuma's V-Skill, you know? And it's not like kind of... It's not outright dodging the attack like Laura's V-Trigger 2. It is literally just puts you into invincibility frames, basically. And you go right through it. Basically, that's how it interacts. So, another thing, too... So, that is an interesting point you brought up, though. Like, if it can't counter lows, then even there's some strong neutral characters that use lows, such as Caddy, like you just said. So it's not going to help for everyone. But another thing too is that when Ryu lands his attack, he knocks the opponent so far away. In general, like that will really help him zone. I mean, Ryu can't zone forever, but it just gives him that much more space, right? Because a lot of times Ryu fights for space. Like he has to use a lot of meter to burn, you know, EX fireballs, for example, just to gain space all the time. He's so desperate for knockdown and space, and like this is just another attack that would really help him because, like the other long range attack that Ryu players use is like forward hard punch a lot, right? Which makes them really susceptible to getting countered by a lot of stuff because that move is slow. You know, so I'm really curious. This would be a really good tool for Ryu in general. I think he would use this a lot. Yeah, so projectiles, that will help him in certain matchups. Lows, that would help him in certain matchups. What if it's both projectiles and lows? What if it's everything? That'd be silly. That'd be silly.
Then it better be like -20 on block.
I wonder if you can bait V-reverse with it, because that's one thing that's really good about Ryu's V-Skill 1, is parry, is that he can bait V-reversals quite well with it. He's got some good option selects. So if they could do that, that'd be cool too.
Yeah. Well, another thing that we have to keep in mind, I think, which is going to be important for other V-Skills as well, is that assuming that they're not buffing or nerfing V-Skill 1, for like the characters, then V-Skill 2 is probably gonna have, you know, a similar amount of power, if you will. Like it's gonna be on the same power level, because otherwise it wouldn't really be a choice between V-Skill 1 and 2. It'd be one superior to the other, and that's not what Capcom wants. It's not what we want either.
Right.
So we can imagine that this V-Skill 2 will probably fit in a place where similar to V-Skill 1, so it really depends on how much Capcom values the existence of, you know, Ryu's parry. And we don't know if Ryu's parry is gonna get buffed as well, right? Maybe it will have better recovery, and thus V-Skill 2 will be, like, since it looks stronger on paper, to be honest, might be competitive in that sense because V-Skill 1 got buffed.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see that as well.
Right.
But having said this, V-Skill 2 seems to cover a more aggressive style of Ryu, I would say. Because you can use it basically as a counterpoint counter poke to keep on the offense or to get people off of you, and then like just either go back to zoning or maybe keep the pressure on the corner. Well, the parry is more of a, all-purpose defensive tool.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. And this is going to be an issue whenever you add type of mechanics like this. Like we've had our concerns with V Trigger too. If they don't properly balance both, we're going to have a situation where everyone uses the same V Trigger, which is definitely the case with some characters, right? And I'm sure we're going to run into that issue with the V skills as well. I mean, in any game, honestly, with choice, cookie cutter builds and all of that, we run into these issues. So I hope Capcom has at least taken re-looked at all the V-Skill ones just in case, and don't just leave the V-Skill ones as they are. I hope they take a second look at them as well in comparison. So another thing too that I'm curious about is can you super cancel the first hit of the counter? So if you don't successfully counter and you just land the hit raw on the opponent, can you super cancel from it? Can you V-trigger cancel from it? That would be very interesting as well.
Yeah. Because
Ryu right now, like the way he activates, he either burns an EX Fireball to activate, or he goes for a sweep, right? Because he's stubby. So having another long-range tool to V-trigger cancel would be quite good, especially if he goes plus on hit, for example.
And I wonder in that case if it can be used maybe in some combos for getting V-gauge or something, right? That'd be interesting too. Like as combo filler.
Yeah. Another thing too is can you super cancel the follow-up attack? Because we know you can V-trigger cancel it, so I would assume you can super cancel out of it. So that would be important as well, because that'd make really good for comebacks, if he was able to land a super from that. So I'm interested in that. Can he combo after the second hit in the corner? Does he have juggle properties after? Does he recover fast enough to do an EX uppercut?
Yeah.
A lot of questions.
Another question that I have is that there's other characters that have target combos that go into V-Skill. And we don't know if, for example, their V-Skill 2 will be something different that won't be part of a target combo, right? So I'm thinking the same for you. What if he get by selecting V-Skill 2, he gets, say, for example, standing heavy punch, standing heavy kick V-Skill as a target combo. Like, that could be interesting, right? Since it's an attack, so it could work.
Right, or standing medium punch, heavy punch, V-Skill, something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm curious. That'd be interesting. With that being said, though, like you mentioned before, what is it on block? Is it plus? Is it minus? If it's block, that'd be crazy. How much pushback would there be?
Yeah, like if I were to guess, it's probably gonna be something similar to Colleen, where it's punishable. Maybe you could space it, I guess. It really depends on the pushback, right? Because Colleen's moves are forward, but the range is so high, like so long, that you can realistically space it to make it hard to punish, especially for certain characters that don't have fast sweeps.
Right. Like if it was...
So it could be the same for Ryu.
Yeah, if it's like -6 or -7, and then you could space it, like calling... Oh man, it'd be so unga bunga. It's so unga bunga. Dude, can you imagine Ryu's flowchart online? It'll be dash dash jump jump V-skill. Like it's gonna be super.
It better not go through projectiles, because otherwise, like Colleen's, as we were saying, she has trouble with projectiles because she doesn't really have one of her own. Like she has the ice, sure, but it's not a traditional projectile.
Right.
But Ryu does have a fireball.
Right.
So that could be dangerous, right?
Honestly, man, I don't really care if they screw up and they make Ryu OP. I just want to see this character in tournaments again. I don't really care.
I mean, making Ryu OP is fine, but making Ryu Unga Bunga, I'm not sure about that. He's already like on the edge,
Dude, I would love to make a video that's like the highlight is the Ryu problem. This character needs to be nerfed. I would love to make a video on that. I hope that day comes, man. What if you use this as an anti-air? Because Colleen, she kind of just moves underneath the opponent and just continues to go, right? So, because she has a follow-up attack to her counter as well with the V-skill. Yeah. So, I'm assuming Ryu would just go right through them. So, wonder how that works.
It's possible, because Colleen's works if it counters an air attack, right? Because they get kind of like get snagged. But if it's just the normal hit that hits an airborne opponent, they just fall to the ground. I'm not even sure if you can follow up with Parabellum or anything like that. So Ryu it could be something similar. Maybe in the corner, like if you enter someone close to the corner, you can probably do something like the XDP.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you'd get otherwise.
What do you think
you have anything else that juggles?
So what do you think the general game plan would be with this V-skill? Let's say, so Ryu would be a neutral. He'd be doing his usual like crouch immune kick, fireball. But once he gets enough pushback and he's like minus after the fireball, after they block it, they're gonna try to act, right, and stick something out. You think Ryu would just go like fireball and then he would just go V-skill right after as a poke? Maybe
well,
that,
if you can space it, yeah.
If you can space.
If you can space it, yeah, that would work. If
yeah.
you I mean, that would, of course, open to counterplay in the sense that the opponent might just jump at you and then, you know, exploit the whiff with a jumping combo. So
right.
yeah, it would be another level to the neutral game. Well, not neutral game, not necessarily, but the block string meta, right? Because you can end your block string early, with the threat of using the V-skill, and you know the opponent will be like, well, I don't really want to press a button now, because otherwise I get countered, and then you can, you know, dash in for throw or just walk and continue your pressure. So that could be a situation in which to use it, but it really all comes down to how punishable it is and how easy it is to space. Because if you use it point blank, like I'm going to assume that it's punishable. I doubt that this is I doubt that this is safe or plus, unless it's just mid attack that you counter.
Yeah. If it's as good as it's looking like it is, this will really change up some of Ryu's bad matchup. It has to. Because it would be, like I said, I'm trying to compare it to Colleen's V-skill, and I think it would really help him a lot if he can space it. So I'm really interested when it finally releases, we get our hands on it, and we can see how it actually works. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Mir. I think we covered everything that we can possibly think about on this V-skill 2. Let us know in the comments below, guys. What do you think about this V-skill 2 for Ryu? Do you think this will be useful, or are you guys think Ryu players are still going to stick with V-skill 1, and what are you guys hoping that V-skill 2 will help Ryu with in his matchups? Let us know in the comments below, guys. Please like the video, it really helps out, and of course subscribe to the channel. Me and Mira will be covering the other V-skills as Capcom slowly reveals them on their Twitter page, so stay tuned, guys. Alright, take care everyone.